Dust curled like smoke from the parched earth as the sun dipped low over the town of Dry Creek, casting the land in hues of amber and sorrow. At the edge of the town cemetery, beneath a twisted willow that fought to stay green in the heat, knelt a cowboy in a worn hat and dust-covered duster. His name was Elijah Cole. Each evening, without fail, Elijah would ride his chestnut mare to this very spot. He'd kneel by the simple wooden cross that bore his wife's name, Clara Rose Cole, 1852 to 1878, and speak aloud like she could hear him. "Another day gone, darling," he murmured that night, voice low and hoarse. "The wheat's din. Sheriff says outlaws been circling. I'm still brayer thin, though I don't rightly know why. Maybe just to talk to you." His words weren't for comfort. They were an act of stubborn devotion, a tether to the only love he'd ever known. Clara had died giving birth, and their baby girl had followed her into the earth hours later. Elijah had buried them himself, then buried his voice with them, except when he spoke to the dead. Dry Creek knew him as a cowboy who kept to himself, worked hard, and grieved harder. Chapter 2. The Woman on the Edge. The morning after a brutal desert storm, Elijah found her. She was slumped against a half-collapsed barn on the edge of his land, her dress torn, one shoe missing, and blood drying on her temple. At first, he thought she was dead. Then her chest rose. "Lord above," he muttered, lifting her carefully into his arms. He brought her to the ranch house he rarely used anymore, laying her on the cot by the window. He cleaned the wound on her head, changed her into one of Clara's old nightgowns, and left water and bread on the side table. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't care. But when she woke, her voice cracked like wind through brittle branches. "Where am I?" "My land, Dry Creek," Elijah replied gruffly, pouring her a glass of water. "You were out cold. Looked like someone left you for dead." Her eyes darted around, wild and frightened. I didn't mean to come here. I didn't know where I was going. I just had to run." He didn't press her, just nodded and said, "Rest." 4 days, she slept. When she finally sat up and took in the world, Elijah saw the hollowness in her eyes. Whatever she'd run from had gutted her. Her name was Jane Marlowe, and her voice trembled when she finally spoke of it. "I married a man out of desperation. Thought he'd be kind. Instead, he drank and beat and sold me to another like I was cattle. I escaped in the dead of night and ran till my legs gave out." Elijah said nothing for a long while. Then, "No one will find you here unless I let him." She blinked. "Why would you help a stranger?" His jaw tightened. "Guess I got ghosts enough to spare." Chapter 3. The Thawing. Weeks passed. Elijah let Jane stay in the ranch house while he slept in the barn or under the stars. She offered to help with chores, and he let her, slowly, feeding chickens, milking the single old cow, tending what little grew in the soil. She laughed once, soft, uncertain, and it startled them both. "I haven't laughed in a long time," she admitted, brushing hair from her face. "Feels strange." "You should do it more," Elijah replied, and then looked away, ashamed of how much he meant it. Every night, he still visited Clara's grave. Jane watched him from the porch sometimes, the way he knelt in reverence, the way his shoulders sagged like the world pressed down on him. She didn't interrupt, not until one night when she followed him. "Do you love her still?" she asked gently. Elijah stared at the cross. "I don't know how to stop." Jane nodded. "I don't expect you to. I just needed to know if there's any part of you left for the living." Elijah turned to her, really looking. The bruises on her arms had faded, but the fear lingered. Still, she stood there, brave. "I think I forgot how," he said quietly. "Then let me remind you." Chapter 4. Trouble Returns. One morning, Elijah found horse tracks at the edge of his property, fresh ones. He told Jane to stay indoors, locked the doors, and loaded his rifle. Later that night, a man came into Dry Creek looking for a runaway whore. His name was Clyde Taggart, a name Elijah hadn't heard in years, but one that made his blood burn. Clyde wasn't just a brute. He used to run with Elijah back when there were wild boys who robbed freight and outran lawmen. Elijah left that life for Clara. Clyde didn't. Elijah confronted him in the saloon, stepping through swinging doors like a shadow from past. "You looking for someone?" Elijah asked. "Cold." Clyde grinned. "Heard you got yourself some company. Pretty thing. Mine." "She ain't yours." "She was bought." "Cold. Bought fair by men richer than you." "You lay a hand on her," Elijah growled, "and you'll leave in a box." The whole saloon went quiet. Clyde laughed but didn't push it. Yet, that night, Elijah doubled the locks. Jane sat on the edge of the cot, hands trembling. "I should leave," she whispered. "He'll burn your ranch down for spite." "I lost too much already," Elijah said, kneeling in front of her. "I'm not losing you too." Chapter 5. The Fire and the Fight. They came at dawn. Elijah spotted the smoke first. His barn ablaze, orange flame crackling into the morning sky. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his rifle and ran to meet them, 5 men on horseback circling like vultures. Jane hid in the root cellar beneath the house, clutching the revolver Elijah had given her. Clyde shouted across the flames, "Give her up, and I'll leave the rest." Elijah stood firm. "She's not yours to take." The shootout was brutal. Elijah took a bullet to the shoulder but stayed upright, felling 2 men before ducking behind cover. The third got too close. Elijah brought him down with a knife. Clyde stormed the house. Jane heard his boots above her, the floorboards creaking. When he ripped open the trapdoor, she didn't hesitate. She shot. He staggered back, a clean hit to the gut, but he pulled her from the cellar anyway, roaring with rage. That's when Elijah crashed through the back window, blooded but fierce. He tackled Clyde, fists flying, eyes wild. It wasn't just about Jane. It was for Clara, for everything. When it was over, Clyde lay motionless, and Elijah slumped to the ground beside him, panting, shaking. Jane crawled to him, sobbing. "You're hurt." "I'll live," he whispered. "Just don't leave me alone again." Chapter 6. The Living. They buried the dead behind the barn. The town helped. Turns out, folks respected a man who fought for what was right. Elijah stood at Clara's grave one final time. Jane joined him, holding his hand. "I'll never replace her," Jane said softly. "You don't need to," Elijah replied. "You just made me remember I'm still alive." They married in the spring. Dry Creek bloomed again, slowly, like a land waking from long sorrow. Jane planted wildflowers around the ranch. Elijah rebuilt the barn with the help of neighbors. Laughter returned, cautious at first, then fuller with each passing season. Each evening, Elijah still rode to the cemetery, but now he brought Jane with him. And instead of mourning, he spoke softly of the day, of crops and chickens and love that found its way through the ashes. "I'll always talk to her," he said once, eyes on Clara's name. "I know," Jane replied, smiling through tears. "And I'll always listen."